Welcome everyone, I'm the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Small World 2. Small World is a board game, and I guess Small World 2 is just the digitized version. This game, I think, it may be on mobile, but I have it on Steam here, and I wanted to go ahead and show it off. This will probably be on my playthrough, playlist for Tabletop Simulator games, even though this is technically not a Tabletop Simulator game. But I want to show off all sorts of board games that have digitized versions because I definitely support any board game company that actually puts the effort to make their game digital, because, you know, the internet's a thing and it makes it easier for me to play board games with people if I have the internet. So also it's, you know, easier to set up and all that good stuff. Anyway, you can play online with friends and all this, but I'm just going to do a solo game against some AI characters. So I have 4 bots here, then I'm going to be red. And I included all the expansions. All the expansions do is add additional races and things like that, and that's about it. Alright. So now the way this works is every time you start, when you start the game, you have to pick a race and special power combo. But more about that later. First, let's talk about the game itself. The goal of the game is to make more points than your opponent. There are I don't know if there's an actual official title for these types of games, but there are a lot of games where it's you don't get eliminated like in other games. It's just you play through a number of rounds. Everyone plays every round, and at the end you tally up the points, and whoever has the most points wins. This game is a little bit more aggressive than some other of the point-based games because you get to, you know, technically fight each other. And the way you make points in this game, by the way, is by taking over territory. Everything on this map is a territory, including the water. It's a little bit more complicated to get the water. You can see there's marshes, fields, plains. Actually, I think those are hills. Yeah, there's plains, hills, marshes, forests, mountains. There's also little symbols all over the map. The little blue, the blue with like white diamonds is magic, a magic domain. The crossed pickaxe and shovel is like a mining domain, and I think the little brown symbol that has like little caves on it, I think that's like underworld or something like that. I'll know them once I actually see them again. It's been a while since I've played this. But yeah, the goal of this game is simply just to make more points than your opponent, and you generally make points in this game by taking over territories. And the way you take over territories, well, you need to pick a race. Now, on the right-hand side here, you have a list of races and power combinations. These are completely randomized, so sometimes it might be elves with alchemists rather than elves with flying. And each of the races have their own unique ability, and then the powers add an additional effect on top of that. Not only does it add an additional effect, but also your race and power combination decides how many units you get. So for example, elves have a 6, so they get 6 units base, and then flying adds 5. So if I went with this combination, I would have 11 units. Now for the powers, there's a lot of them, so I'll just go over the ones I see as I play through. So what elves can do, their unique thing is whenever they get defeated in combat, essentially, they automatically just return back to your redeployment, and you can redeploy them freely. Usually, when your territories get taken over, you lose units. Elves do not; they just come back every time. So they're very hard to get rid of because they just keep coming back. Now what flying does is it lets you take over everything except for seas and lakes, and you don't have to be adjacent. So usually, when you start your units, you usually will come in from the edges or the shoreline, and then you can only take over adjacent territories. Elves do not have to play by that rule, or not elves, but flying units do not have to play by that rule, so they can go and pick and choose certain locations, and even target like areas that are not defended well. Now, if you take this first option here, it's completely free, but every option beyond that costs you an additional point, and that point gets put on that race that you skip over. So, for example, if I went all the way to Seafaring Leprechauns, I would have to put a point on the previous 4 race combos, and if any of my opponents go and grab, or if I myself go eventually grab it, if I grab one of these combos that have points on it, I get those points. At the start of the game, everyone starts with 5 points, and that'll quickly change as you play through, but yes, so if you have a specific combo that you really want to go for, you have to pay for it. So, over here we have Gypsies. They're an expansion race. Their gimmick is whenever you abandon a territory, you leave behind a victory coin, and if that victory coin is not taken, you will get, well, sorry about that. My headset kind of did something weird. Anyway, so the way Gypsies work is when you leave a territory, you'll leave behind a coin, and you'll still get income from that territory even after you left it. Now, after you get that income once, those coins disappear. So Gypsies are very, very mobile, and they tend to just spread across and just keep taking over everything and leaving behind coins so they can get a bunch of income. Alchemists, what that does is no matter what, you just get 2 points every turn, as long as you're not in decline, which we'll talk about later. So yeah, if you just have this race, you will get 2 points every turn. Anyway, we got Merchant Tritons. Their special ability is they get merchants get an additional point for every region they occupy. So usually you get 1 point per territory. With merchants, you get double that. Now the trade-off is you only get 2 additional units from merchant. So you end up having a lot less units, but each territory you take with them is worth a lot more. Triton's special ability is it actually takes 1 less for them to take over territory. So usually when you take over territory, it takes a minimum of 2 units to take over an empty territory, and every additional thing that's on that location makes it cost an additional 1. So for example, this empty territory would cost 2, but this territory with mountains on it would cost 3, and taking this territory with the guy on it would also cost 3, and if you take it over, you will remove that guy and replace it with your own units. But if you play as Tritons, every coastal location will cost 1 less, so it'll just cost 1, 2, and 2. Alright, so this is actually a pretty good option, because if you take a bunch of coastal cities, you'll get double cost for them. Commando Dwarves, their special ability is whenever they take over any region, it costs 1 less. So it's like the Triton ability, but for everything. And Dwarves' special ability is they get, every mine region, they get 1 additional victory point, even when they're in decline. So they have very few units, but the idea for Dwarves is you just pick them, and then you take over a few mines, and then hope people leave those alone, so you can just rake up a bunch of free points. And there's a bunch of other options. We got Leprechauns down here, Seafaring Leprechauns. So Seafaring is the ability that lets you actually take over the lake and sea areas. And those are pretty good because you can just take them and then you hold on to them for a while. Leprechauns, their special ability is when they redeploy, during deployment, they can put pots of gold in each region they control. And if no one takes it over, they get additional points. Now, if someone takes over their territory that does have a pot of gold on it, they get additional points. So they makes their territories worth more to take over, but if they are left alone, they'll just make more income. And then we have Fortified Ghouls. Ghouls, their special ability is when they go in decline, they can actually keep fighting. We'll talk a little bit more about decline in a bit. And then Fortify, what that does is every turn you can place 1 fortress on top of one of your territories, and that fortress will make it so you get 1 additional defense. So it makes it hard, it requires more units to take over. Anyway, so from what I've seen, I do like the Gypsies and the Tritons. I don't really care much for flying elves, but I'm kind of interested in just grabbing Tritons and seeing how far they go. But Gypsies would also be a pretty safe play as well. I think I'm going to go Tritons. We'll go Merchant Tritons, and I'm just going to take advantage of the coast. So I'm going to pick them. Alright, so I paid 2 points for that because I had to go take over those locations there. And now now I have a race, and what I can do is start distributing my units. I have 8 units, so I'm just going to start taking over some coastlines here. So I can go 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. That would get me quite a bit of points. and it'll be pretty safe as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. In fact, I think I might want to start on this end. It'll go 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. Yeah, it'll be 9 there, so it wouldn't be as... Taking over hills, taking over mountains rather, is pretty safe. They're hard to take over, but once you have them, it's easier to defend because they essentially give you +1 defense. So I'm just gonna go right here. So it cost 1 there, 1 there. It's gonna cost 2 here because there's a unit there. 1 there, and then 2 here, and then I'm gonna put 1 here. All right, I've distributed all my troops, and now I can redeploy them. So I can put them in key points where I think they probably should defend. I'm gonna put them, I don't know, down here. Just kind of hold that spot. More than likely they're gonna probably attack me, but I'm just hoping for a very strong play in the beginning here. So let's go ahead and done. So yeah, 1 point for every territory, and then the merchant is giving me an additional point for every territory. So with this, I'm gonna have a pretty strong first turn. 12 points. Now all your opponents do see how many points you make per turn. They don't know your exact count. As you can see down here, I have to click on this to actually see what it is. I can't actually see how many points the opponent has. So unless you're keeping track, it'll be pretty hard to know exactly where people are. So generally you want to pay attention to the kind of general flow of the game and be aware of anyone that's getting a lot of high point turns, because they're probably raking up a lot of a very big lead, to say the least. You might notice that there's this die being rolled. One of the options I could have done is I could have taken my, for your last deployment, you can attempt to attack a region that you don't have enough units for. So for example, instead of going to the swamp, I could have went and taken on this guy, and what you would end up doing is you would roll a die, and that die has 3 blanks, a 1, a 2, and a 3. And whatever you roll on it is how many additional attack you end up getting. So if I had ended up rolling a 1, I would have taken over this territory with just 1 person rather than with 2. But you can only do that at the end of for your last deployment unless you have a certain ability. Now unfortunately I got wrecked by some pillaging ratmen. So here's what happened. So the gypsies kind of just took the mountains here, so they have really good defense here. The dwarves spread across here and took a few mines, and the elves went and took, it looks like they took a bunch of, sorry about that, I'm getting all disoriented. They took a few mountains here and there, it looks like. That's about it. Yeah, they took a mountain there, and they took over they beat a dwarf and took a mountain here. And then the rats just slaughtered me. They just went in. They're pillaging ratmen, so they get an additional point for every territory they take over that had a person on it. And so they got a bunch of points out of it. They ended up making 8 points off of me. And their special ability is ratmen don't have a special ability. They just get a lot of them. So as you can see, they start with 8, which is pretty big. Now, unfortunately, I'm pretty screwed, because each of those territories that were taken over, I lost 1 unit each from them. And so all these locations had 1 unit each on them, so I lost 4 units. Any of excess units got returned to my redeployment, so I can actually use them to take over territories. If I want to, I can actually click this and remove it and use it as a redeployment, but that's generally not a good idea. At this point, I'm probably just going to go ahead and go into decline. What going into decline does is it's going to flip my units that are still on the board to gray, and I can't do anything with them. And they'll just make points for me. And they generally lose their special abilities with the exception of dwarves. And then when it comes to my next turn, I can pick another unit. Alright, looks like Gypsy player's not really... They're not really redeploying, which is what they usually should be doing. But it's okay, because the elves are just kind of doing their thing.
Oh no!
Yeah, he's making a few points, but really he's just being a pest. Alright, he's going after the dwarves, that's good. Oh, nice roll. So the ratmen are kind of spreading across everywhere. So they're probably going to be my target. Because we need to keep them at bay. Alright, so I can go ahead and pick a race. I do have seafaring, but I don't really want that. There's fortified ghouls, which is kind of decent. There's goblins. Goblins is you may conquer any in-decline region at the cost of one less goblin than normal. And werewolves, they get additional attack power every other turn. Every even number turn, they become werewolves, and they essentially get +2 attack power. So it requires 2 less to take over any territory, which is pretty amazing. Right now it's turn 3 though, so it wouldn't actually be that useful. Amazons, they get 4 additional units purely for attacking. So when attacking, they get 4 extra that they can do anything with. And then Swamp, all that does is give you additional income for every swamp you control. Pixies, they get a lot of units, but their disadvantage is they can only leave 1 unit on every territory. So yeah, they kind of just get thrown out there. What Spirit does is kind of hard to explain. You can only usually have 1 unit, 1 race in decline at a time. So if I were to go pick another race here and go into decline, my Tritons would disappear, even if they were still on the board. What Spirit does is it lets you have an additional, that unit is not counted towards that limit. So you can have Tritons and Pixies in decline and then still have another race active. So I'm thinking Amazons for this, because that allows me to be pretty, well actually Pixies is pretty aggressive as well. I would have 16 units if I went with Pixies. I would lose 4 points though. But then I can go in decline and hopefully do some things with that. I don't know, I think I'm going to go Amazons. It's cheaper for one thing. The other option is of course going ghouls and trying to get some fortifications up, but I'm not really expecting much from that. So yeah, we'll go with Swamp Amazons for this, and hopefully we can get something out of it. I'm not really that keen on leprechauns. You can drag 1 pot, blah 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 blah. No, we're going Amazons. Alright, so with this we get 4 additional units on top of that, so it's 10 plus 4, so 14 units, and we're just going to go and wreck some people. I can try attacking the elves, but honestly they're not going to lose any units for it. So we're just going to go ahead and make a push up this way. So it would be 4, 7, 10, and then 14 up there. Now whittle them down a little bit. But I actually kind of want to get some of these swamps as well, so we can go here, 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 and then there, I guess. That's an option, I guess. Or we can come in from here and get the swamps here. That's a better idea. We'll take that, that, that. I do want to whittle them down first, so we'll whittle them down, and then I'll try to go for this one.
Oh,
Nope,
no.
didn't get it. Alright, and I got no one to redeploy. Those 4 units that I was using purely for attacking got taken away from me. Alright, I want to actually hold the swamps, so get additional points. So I put all my units on the swamps, and we'll just go from there. Not very many points, but it whittled down the rats, which is really the important part. Even if you take over a territory that has multiple rats on it, or multiple units on it, you only remove 1 of them, and the rest of them go into redeployment. So what ended up happening was the rat player put back 1 unit, because that one didn't get destroyed. Alright, looks like the leprechauns are pushing in against the gypsies. The dwarves are kind of gotten wrecked. but now they have a bunch of units there. Okay. Oh, she actually removed units there, but didn't really get very far with it. So I'm not too worried about the blue player. Yellow player I'm a little worried about. The elves are not, I mean, they're making steady income, I guess, but they're not gonna get, the best they could have done is try to take over as much as possible and then kind of spread. And luckily they attacked the elves and not me. Alright, so with this we can actually keep putting pressure on the rats. I will go ahead and keep fighting. And so these Tritons here are constantly making me 2 points per turn. So yeah, even though there's not very many of them, it's free income. So we need to take out some units. I definitely want to take over some mountains if possible. But I also want to get rid of these rats as soon as possible. Alright, we'll take this. Oh right, I actually have a lot more than I thought. I do want to take the mountain. And then with this last one, let's try to get rid of our... Yes, got it! Alright. Unfortunately, I don't really have much to redeploy, because obviously the fort I just took back are a thing. But at least I have a mountain now. At this point, I can't really expand much further without having to refund. So I'll probably go into decline after this. More than likely, the rats are going to go into decline, because I kind of just wrecked them. Alright, 12 points. Now, unfortunately, they're making a bunch of points from the pots of gold here.
Oh no!
And that pot of gold in the freaking water, we can't do anything about, so that's actually pretty strong. So we probably need to get that going. Right now we're in turn 4, so we're halfway through the game right now. It'll be turn 5 when it hits my turn. Alright, good stuff. The sound effects are a little off. Oh well, I'll leave it alone. Yeah, gypsies are not a problem. We're not that worried about them. Elves are kind of just there. I mean, they're making some income, but like by now they should have went in decline and just swapped to something a little bit more aggressive. Because I'm not going to mess with those elves until they go into decline. Oh, wow. You're just going to keep attacking me. At least you didn't take my swamp. This is actually pretty good, because that means he hasn't went into decline yet. Which means I can go into decline. So if I go into decline now, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. And then I can devote it my next turn towards essentially fighting what I want. I do have 7 points. I actually have 7 units still left, so I could probably go ahead and keep being aggressive if I really want to. I lost 1 unit, so you know what? We might want to go ahead and keep up the pressure. Yeah, knowing when to like go into decline and stuff is kind of important. Right now it's turn 5. It'll be turn 6 when I actually pick a race. I could pick goblins then, and then just start beating the tar out of people. Yeah, that could be a very strong option. So yeah, we'll go ahead and go into decline. We'll lose these 2 territories, but we should be okay. So we'll get our 2 points. We're not going to get bonuses from Swamp, unfortunately. And we're just going to keep going. We definitely need to start beating up on yellow. They're just getting a bunch of free points from those dwarves up there. Nope. Flying elves. Oh, there he goes. Now he switched to decline. You're fighting back.
Oh no!
Alright. Lost a decline unit, but that's fine. Goblins are sounding pretty appealing now. Alright, so I'll have to spend a point on the ghouls, but I'll get 2 points back because there are 2 coins there. You may conquer any in-decline region at the cost of 1 less goblin token than normal. A minimum of 1 token is still required. And it's going to be night. It's going to be an even turn, so that'll be -3 to take over any territory that has in-decline units on it. So I can pretty much just take over this section here pretty easily, and then I can just start beating up on rats. So yeah, I'll go ahead and pick them. So it's letting me know I have werewolf powers. I have 10 units. It's going to be 1 cost for a lot of these sections. So yeah, like this is supposed to be 3 costs. It's going to be only 1 cost because of the werewolf. Yeah, that's going to be pretty strong. So I can pretty much just start taking over everything here. So I'm going to go ahead and first take this mine. It's only 1 cost to take this mountain. That's. I wouldn't mind taking that as well. Maybe 2 to take that. Take that, get a coin from that. You actually get a coin from them, so that's pretty handy. Then I'll take this red out, and then I'll go for gold. It's either I go for gold or I just take a unit. Yeah, go for gold. Got it. Awesome. No redeployment necessary. I literally took everything with... Well, I can move 1, but I'm not gonna... There's no real gain for that. Alright. Done with the turn. There you go. 14, just purely from territory. Alright, he went into decline. Gypsies are still doing their thing. That's fine. Switch to ghouls. And they're pushing south. Now, something about this game. No matter what races combinations you get, like there are definitely some powerful ones. No matter how good of race and power combos you get, this game's more of a social game. It's more about you convincing your opponents that you're not a threat and that someone else is a threat. Because if you start getting like 14-point turns, they're gonna notice and be like, oh shit, well maybe we should start attacking him. And so you have to essentially make a decision then. I would have to well, I'll happily take a rat out. There's not really much I can do this turn, because it's unfortunately daytime. So I'm just going to try to take a rat. Got it. There you go. And I am done with the turn. I'm going to get slaughtered very quickly when they start coming in from the north. but hopefully the points I just made will make up for it. 15 points. Pixies, that's gonna wreck me. Here they come. Yep, they got it. But their disadvantage is they can't deploy any extra. Gypsies, they're just gonna hang out. Oh, they're attacking the pixies, good. I kind of just have to hole up in this turn because it's going to be turn 8 when it hits my turn, and going into decline will do nothing. So it's pretty much just going to be me passing my turn. And they just went into decline. Wow. Catapult kobolds. So catapult kobolds, what they can do is they can set a catapult and immediately attack a further range territory for like extra damage or something like that. It's pretty powerful. Kobolds, they have to, no matter what, they have to have at least 2 units on every territory. So they're kind of limited on how far they can expand, even though there's a lot of them. Alright, there's not much I can do this turn. I can redeploy some of my units, and that's about it. So yeah, I can start just yanking some of my units out to get them a little bit out of dodge. So I can do something like, I don't know, that. And then... didn't let me reach... oh, that's... okay, I think that's a bug. I actually wanted to go ahead and move more units, but it didn't let me. Alright, whatever. I'll take what I got. I should have just dragged them into my hand. I lost some units there. Doesn't really matter, because... actually it doesn't matter if I lose units now. It was more just denying the opponent's points, because I can't get any more points. I've already had my last turn. Yeah, Tinbot here didn't do well. He stuck with Gypsies the entire time, which granted the Alchemist alone gave him 16 points over 8 turns, but he didn't really be very aggressive with them. And this guy just switched to... well, he's got ghouls, which are in decline, but they can attack while in decline. So he's attacking with the ghouls, and now he's attacking with the orcs. Orc special ability is whenever they take over any occupied territories, they get additional points. And what Stout does is you can actually... what Stout does is you can attack and then go into decline. Usually you have to pick one or the other. But... that is the last turn. Let's see if I actually pulled this off. There's... yep. Yep. Okay, and I won. By 3 points. Sure, I guess. So if I want to, I can actually pull up the game stats, and you can see exactly how I made these points. So yeah, I won by 3 points. Yellow was racking up tons of points. The Dwarves pulled up 28 points, and they were in the game for quite a while, even while on decline. He played them for 1 turn, went into decline, and went straight to Leprechauns. Leprechauns got him 42 points, and then for the end he got 9 points from Pixies. I got 21 points from Tritons, and that's purely because I kept getting... I attacked once, made like, you know, it was like 12 points that first turn, and then after that I made like 2 points every turn with them. And then Amazons, of course, I got a bunch of territory with them, and then I got a bunch of points with the Goblins. So yeah, nice little spread there. As you can see, Tinbot actually made pretty decent amount of points, even with just 1 unit. One moment. Sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah, it was just... the elves made points, but like you said, if you're not making like double points are double digits for your points every turn, and someone else is, you kind of need to do something about that. Either you need to stop them from getting points, or you need to find a way to get more points. So yeah, pretty good game. Definitely a little frustrating if you end up getting ganged up on and stuff like that. But this playthrough was mostly okay. So I'm The Depressed Eeyore, and this was Small World 2. See you guys later.